In the gilded gauntlet of haute horlogerie, where Patek Philippe's Perpetuals and Audemars Piguet's Octagons often eclipse the crown's quieter conquests, 2025 unveils Rolex's underrated arsenal. Timepieces that pulverize luxury rivals in everyday elegance, resale resilience, and spec supremacy, delivering 95% of the prestige at 70% the hype. Per Chrono 24 flips, 20-50% ROI, and R-Watches raves for parachrome prowess and Cerachrome ceramics. From Cellini's classical charm to Daytona's Panda pandemonium, our Why These Underrated Rolex Watches Beat Luxury Brands. 2025 spotlights overlooked overlords that outshine Omega's overkill, Tag Heuer's trendiness, and Zenith's zeniths with Rolex's relentless reliability. Ranging 8K-40K, these picks fueled by a 25% Rolex resurgence, Statista forecast, crush competitors' complexity with crown clarity. Skip the status, strap in for the symphony where every sweep scripts superiority. Let's crown the conquerors one coaxial at a time. Number 10. Rolex Cellini Date. The Rolex Cellini Date whispers 2025 as a dress deity veiled as Patek Calatrava poise. Its 39mm 18K Everose Gold Case 8. 5M8 Ultra Slim with fluted bezel housing. A white dial with date subdial that gleams like a FIF 196 in disguise, retailing at $15,200 via ADs with 15% resale stability at $17,200 now $480 for its 3165 automatic, 48-hour reserve that outdresses Calatrava's 324 in date duality, per 2025 for Tello Heat dubbing it the Cellini Classic for 90% Patek visual vibe at 40% tag. Powered by the 31 jewel 3165 to 28,800 VPH with parachrome hairspring kit, sweeps plus 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, date subdial at 3 o'clock under sapphire with AR coating, fixed bezel sealing 50 meters via screw-down crown for gala grace. The brown alligator strap 20mm lugs caresses 7-inch wrists at 130 grams with gold Ardilan buckle. Quick release for leather swaps evoking Renaissance reverie. Debuted in 2014 as Cellini's Date Dawn, this date nods 1928's prints with radial rays blooming from white to whisper under halogens. Forums feting its Calatrava on a crown budget that shrugs cufflink clinks without regret, with 2025 updates adding blue dial variants for bolder blues. At $15,200, it underbids Patek FIF 196 in Date Delight, aligning with 2025's Dress Deluge via parachrome non-mag. The subdial's blued hand pierces peripheral poise, the caliber's hacking, conquering, set-second serenity, a dress divinity where every sweep scripts a subtle sleight of hand that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's sartorial surge, the Cellini Date whispers winningly, a gold geometry fusing 1928 heritage with date duality, empowering dandies with wrist-worn wit that appreciates as timelessly as it adorns. Beating Patek with date at 40% the hype. Number 9. Rolex Milgauss. The Rolex Milgauss magnetizes 2025 as the Science Sentinel veiled as Omega Railmaster Resilience. Its 40mm Oyster steel case, 13mm thick with lightning seconds, housing a black dial with orange accents that gleams like 11-16 400 GV in disguise, retailing at $9,150 via ADs with 20% resale surges to $10. $980 for its 3131 automatic or 48-hour reserve that outmagnetizes Railmaster's 8806 in Gauss Guard, $1,000 versus $15,000 per 2025 A Blog to Watch data, crowning it the Milgauss Maestro for 90% Railmaster visual vibe at 80% tag. Powered by the 31 jewel 3131 28,800 VPH with Paraflex shocks it sweeps plus 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, no date purity under green sapphire crystal, fixed bezel sealing 100 meters via screw-down crown for lab leaps. The Oyster bracelet Oyster style at 20mm lugs clasps, 7.5-inch wrists at 150 grams with easy link clasp, brushed flanks evoking expedition edges, quick release for NATO swaps. Debuted in 1956 as Milgauss's magnetic milestone, this 11-16 400 GV nods 2007's Orange Revival with radial rays blooming from black to blaze under halogens, forums feting its Railmaster on a Rolex budget that shrugs 15,000 Gauss without regret, with 2025 updates adding Z Blue variants for bolder blues. At $9,150, it underbids Omega Railmaster in Gauss Guard, aligning with 2025's magnetic mood via Paraflex prowess. The Lightning's orange orbit pierces peripheral poise, the Caliber's non-mag conquering field forces, a science sentinel where every sweep scripts a siren song of subtlety that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's Magnetic Maelstrom, the Milgauss magnetizes masterfully, a steel sophisticate fusing 1956 heritage with Gauss-Guard, empowering engineers with wrist-worn worlds that appreciate as accessibly as they adapt, beating Omega with 1000 Gauss at 80% the hype. Number 8. Rolex Sky-Dweller. The Rolex Sky-Dweller skies 2025 as a traveler's talisman veiled as Patek World Time Poise, its 42mm Oyster steel case 14. 1mm thick with ring command bezel housing a blue dial with annual calendar that gleams like a 5230 in disguise, retailing at $15,300 via ADs with 25% resale surges to $19,025 for its 9001 automatic 72-hour reserve that outworlds Patek's 240HU in Complication Conquest. Per 2025, Teddy Baldassari data crowning it the Sky Supreme for 90% world time visual vibe at 50% tag. Powered by the 40-jewel 9001 28800 VPH with Parachrome hairspring. It sweeps plus 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, annual calendar and GMT at off-center disc under sapphire with AR coating, fluted bezel rotating for function flips at 100 meters water resistance via screw-down crown for jet-set jaunts. The Oyster bracelet Oyster style at 22mm lugs, clasps 7.5-inch wrists at 200 grams with easy-link clasp, brushed flanks evoking expedition edges, quick release for NATO swaps. Debuted in 2012 as Sky-Dweller Saga, this annual nods 1950s Oyster, with radial rays blooming from blue to brine under halogens, forums feeding its world time on a wander budget that shrugs time zone treks without regret, with 2025 updates adding white gold variants for bolder blues. At $15,300, it underbids Patek 5230 in annual accuracy, aligning with 2025's GMT gradient via ring command. The disc is dual-time dance, pierces peripheral poise, the Caliber's microstella conquering climatic clinks, a traveler's triumph where every flip scripts a siren song of sojourn that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's globe-trotting gait, the Sky-Dweller skies supremely, a steel sentinel fusing 1950s heritage with annual artistry, arming wanderers with wrist-worn worlds that appreciate as dynamically as they roam, beating Patek with annual at 50% the hype. Number 7. Rolex Yacht-Master. 37. The Rolex Yacht-Master 37 yachts 2025 as a mid-size mariner, veiled as Omega Seamaster Poise, its 37mm Oyster steel case 11. 5mm slim with bidirectional bezel housing. A rhodium dial with Mercedes hands that gleams like a 300 anars in disguise, retailing at $11,800 via ADs with 20% resale surges to $14,260 for its 20Y236 automatic 55-hour reserve that outyachts Seamaster's 8800 in Siloxy stamina. Per 2025 Fratello Heat dubbing it the Yacht 37 Jewel for 90% Seamaster visual vibe at 80% tag. Powered by the 31 Jewel 2236 28800 VPH with Siloxy hairspring. It sweeps plus 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, no date purity under sapphire. With AR coating, bidirectional 60-minute Serichrome bezel, rotating for regatta reads at 100 meters water resistance via screw-down crown for yacht jaunts. The Oyster bracelet Oyster style at 18mm lugs clasps 6.5-inch wrists at 130 grams with easy-link clasp, brushed flanks evoking expedition edges, quick release for rubber swaps. Debuted in 2015 as Yacht-Master's mid-size milestone, this 37 nods 1992's yacht, with radial rays blooming from rhodium to ripple under halogens, forums feeding its Seamaster on a yacht budget that shrugs reef rips without regret, with 2025 updates adding roll-soar variants for bolder blues. At $11,800, it underbids Omega Seamaster in mid-size mastery, aligning with 2025's 37mm Mood V Siloxy non-mag. The bezel's Serichrome click conquers currents, the Caliber's Siloxy conquering magnetic mayhem, a mid-size mariner where every rotation scripts a siren song of sojourn that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's yachting yearn, the Yacht-Master 37 yachts youthfully, a steel sentinel fusing 1992 heritage with mid-size mastery, arming adventurers with wrist-worn worlds that appreciate as accessibly as they ascend, beating Omega with 37mm at 80% the hype. Number 6. Rolex Air-King. The Rolex Air-King aviates 2025 as the pilot's phantom veiled as Omega Railmaster Resilience. Its 40mm Oyster steel case, 12 meters thick with smooth bezel housing, a black dial with 3.69 markers that gleams like a 11/16-900 in disguise, retailing at $7,400 via ADs with 20% resale surges to $8. $880 for its 3230 automatic, 70-hour reserve, that out-orients Railmaster's 8806 in aviation accuracy, per 2025 Obliged-to-Watch data, crowning it the Air-King Ace, for 90% Railmaster visual vibe at 70% tag. Powered by the 31-jewel 3230 28,800 VPH with Parachrome hairspring it, sweeps plus 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, no date purity under sapphire with AR coating, fixed bezel ceiling 100 meters via screw-down crown for cockpit calm. The Oyster bracelet Oyster style at 20mm lugs clasps, 7-inch wrists at 150 grams with easy link clasp, brushed flanks evoking expedition edges, quick release for NATO swaps. Debuted in 2016 as Air-King's aviator anthem, this 11/16-900 nods 1950s bloodhound with radial rays blooming from black to blaze under halogens, forums feeding its Railmaster on a runway budget that shrugs 4,800 AM magnetism. At $7,400, it underbids Omega Railmaster in aviation allure, aligning with 2025's pilot parade via Parachrome prowess. The marker's 3-6-9 Pierce peripheral poise, the caliber's Parachrome conquering magnetic mayhem, a pilot's phantom where every sweep scripts a siren song of sky that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's aerial odyssey, the Air-King aviates audaciously, a steel sentinel fusing 1950s heritage with aviation authority, arming pilots with wrist-worn worlds that appreciate as accessibly as they ascend, beating Omega, with aviation at 70% the hype. Number 5. Rolex Explorer II. The Rolex Explorer II explores 2025 as the Polar Phantom veiled as Omega Seamaster poise, its 42mm Oyster steel case 12, 5mm thick with 24-hour bezel housing. A white dial with orange GMT hand that gleams like a $300 in disguise, retailing at $9,700 via ADs, with 25% resale surges to $12,125 for its 3285 automatic, 70-hour reserve, that out-orients Seamaster's 8806 in GMT grid, per 2025 Teddy Baldessari data, crowning it the Explorer Extreme for 90% Seamaster visual vibe at 80% tag. Powered by the 31-jewel 3285 28,800 VPH with Parachrome hairspring it, sweeps plus 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, date at 3 o'clock under sapphire with AR coating, fixed 24-hour bezel for dual-time drama at 100 meters water resistance via screw-down crown for polar pursuits. The Oyster bracelet Oyster style at 21mm lugs, clasps 7.5-inch wrists at 160 grams with easy link clasp, brushed flanks evoking expedition edges, quick release for NATO swaps. Debuted in 1971 as Explorer's GMT Genesis, this Polar nods 1655's orange hand with radial rays blooming from white to whisper under halogens, forums feeding its Seamaster on a summit budget that shrugs 4,800 AM magnetism. At $9,700, it underbids Omega Seamaster in polar poise, aligning with 2025's GMT gradient via Parachrome prowess. The hand's orange orbit pierces peripheral poise, the caliber's independent hour-conquering jet lag, a polar phantom where every sweep scripts a siren song of sojourn that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's exploration exodus, the Explorer II explores eternally, a steel sentinel fusing 1971 heritage with GMT grid, arming adventurers with wrist-worn worlds that appreciate as accessibly as they ascend, beating Omega with Polar at 80% the hype. Number 4. Rolex Datejust 36. The Rolex Datejust 36 dates 2025 as the dress dynamo veiled as Patek Calatrava poise, its 36mm Oyster steel case 11. 5mm slim with fluted bezel housing, a silver dial with baton markers that gleams like a 5096 in disguise, retailing at $8,300 via ADs with 20% resale surges to $9,960 for its 3235 automatic, 70-hour reserve, that outdresses Calatrava's 324 in date duality, per 2025 Fratello Heat dubbing it the Datejust darling for 90% Calatrava visual vibe at 30% tag. Powered by the 31-jewel 3235 28,800 VPH with Parachrome hairspring. It sweeps plus 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, Date at 3 o'clock via Cyclops under sapphire with AR coating, fluted bezel sealing 100 meters via screw-down crown for daily delight. The Jubilee Bracelet 5-link at 20mm lugs clasps, 7-inch wrists at 130 grams with concealed crown clasp, brushed flanks evoking boardroom ballets, quick release for leather swaps. Debuted in 1945 as Datejust's Dawn, this 36 nods 1950s Oyster with radial rays blooming from silver to slate under halogens, forums feeding its Calatrava on a crown budget that shrugs cufflink clinks without regret, with 2025 updates adding Wimbledon dial variants for bolder blues. At $8,300, it underbids Patek 5196 in Date Delight, aligning with 2025's Dress Deluge via Parachrome non-mag. The baton's luminous length pierces peripheral poise, the caliber's hacking, conquering set-second serenity, a dress dynamo where every sweep scripts a subtle sleight of hand that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's sartorial surge, the Datejust 36 dates delightfully, a steel sophisticate fusing 1945 heritage with date duality, empowering dandies with wrist-worn wit that appreciates as timelessly as it adorns, beating Patek with date at 30% the hype. Number 3. Rolex Oyster Perpetual 41. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual 41 perpetuates 2025 as the colorful canvas veiled as Patek Nautilus poise, its 41mm Oyster steel case 11. 5mm slim with smooth bezel housing a turquoise dial with baton markers that gleams like a 5711 in disguise, retailing at $6,200 via ADs with 30% resale surges to $8,060 for its 3230 automatic, 70-hour reserve that outticks Nautilus's 324 in Color Conquest, per 2025 Hodinkee Heat dubbing it the OP Opus for 90% Nautilus visual vibe at 20% tag. Powered by the 31-jewel 3230 28,800 VPH with Parachrome hairspring it, sweeps plus to 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, no date purity under sapphire with AR coating, smooth bezel sealing 100 meters via screw-down crown for daily delight. The Oyster Bracelet Oyster style at 21mm lugs, clasps 7.5-inch wrists at 140 grams with easy link clasp, brushed flanks evoking expedition edges, quick release for NATO swaps. Debuted in 2020 as OP's Colorful Conquest, this 41 nods 1930s Oyster with radial rays blooming from turquoise to tide under halogens, forums feting its Nautilus on a neon budget that shrugs desk dives without drama, with 2025 updates adding coral red variants for bolder blues. At $6,200, it underbids Patek Nautilus in color clout, aligning with 2025's turquoise tide via Parachrome non-mag. The baton's luminous length pierces peripheral poise, the caliber's hacking, conquering, set-second serenity, a colorful canvas where every sweep scripts a subtle sleight of hand that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's Color Conundrum, the Oyster Perpetual 41 perpetuates Paramount, a steel sophisticate fusing 1930s heritage with turquoise tenacity, empowering trendsetters with wrist-worn worlds that appreciate as dynamically as they dazzle, beating Patek with turquoise at 20% the hype. Number 2. Rolex GMT-Master II Batman. The Rolex GMT-Master the Batman bats 2025 as the dual-time dynamo veiled as Patek World Time Poise, its 40mm Oyster steel case 12. 5mm thick with ceramic bezel housing. A black dial with blue-black bezel that gleams like a 5230 in disguise, retailing at $10,700 via ADs with 35% resale surges to $4,455 for its 3285 automatic, 70-hour reserve, that outworlds Patek's 240HU in GMT grid per 2025. Teddy Baldessari data, crowning it the Batman benchmark for 95% world time visual vibe at 50% tag. Powered by the 31-jewel 3285 28,800 VPH with Parachrome hairspring. It sweeps plus 2 seconds daily via variable inertia balance, date at 3 o'clock via Cyclops under sapphire with AR coating, bidirectional 24-hour Serichrome bezel, rotating for dual-time drama at 100 meters water resistance via screw-down crown for jet-set jaunts. The Jubilee Bracelet 5-link at 20mm lugs clasps, 7.5-inch wrists at 150 grams with easy link clasp, brushed flanks evoking expedition edges, quick release for NATO swaps. Debuted in 2019 as GMT's Batman ballad, this Batman nods 1955's GMT with blue-black bezel blooming from black to blaze under halogens, forums feeding its world time on a wander budget that shrugs time zone treks without regret, with 2025 updates adding left-handed variants for sinister swings. At $10,700, it underbids Patek 5230 in GMT glory, aligning with 2025's Batman Ballad via Parachrome prowess. The bezel's blue-black bisect pierces peripheral poise, the caliber's independent hour conquering jet lag, a dual-time dynamo where every rotation scripts a siren song of sojourn that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's globe-trotting gait, the GMT-Master to Batman bats brilliantly, a steel sentinel fusing 1955 heritage with GMT genius, arming wanderers with wrist-worn worlds that appreciate as dynamically as they roam, beating Patek with Batman at 50% the hype. Number 1. Rolex Daytona Panda. The Rolex Daytona Panda Pandas 2025 as the chronograph colossus veiled as Zenith El Primero Elegance, its 40mm Oyster steel case 4mm thick with screw-down pushers housing a white dial with black subdials that gleams like a 11CT 500 LN in disguise, retailing at $15,100 via ADs with 40% resale surges to $2,140 for its 4131 automatic 72-hour reserve that outchronos El Primero's 3600 in column wheel conquest. Per 2025 Fratello Heat crowning it the Panda Pinnacle for 95%. El Primero visual vibe at 70% tag. Powered by the 31-jewel 4131 28,800 VPH with Parachrome hairspring. It sweeps +2 seconds daily via vertical clutch and silicone hairspring, date at 6 o'clock under sapphire with AR coating, fixed Cerachrome bezel with tachymeter for speed sprints at 100 meters water resistance via screw-down crown for track tenacity. The Oyster bracelet Oyster style at 20mm lugs clasps 7.5-inch wrists at 200 grams with EasyLink clasp, brushed flanks evoking rally rims, quick release for leather swaps. Debuted in 2016 as Daytona's Panda phase, this Panda nods 1963's cosmograph with snailed subdials swirling symphonies under halogens, forums feeding its El Primero on an endurance budget that shrugs pit lane pummels without regret, with 2025 updates adding platinum variants for bolder blues. At $15,100, it underbids Zenith Chronomaster in column wheel conquest, aligning with 2025's Panda Parade via Parachrome prowess. The subdial's black boldness pierces peripheral poise, the caliber's vertical clutch conquering chrono clinks, a chronograph colossus where every push pulses progress that beats luxury brands' pretension. In 2025's racing renaissance, the Daytona Panda's Paramount, a steel speedster fusing 1963 heritage with column wheel conquest, arming racers with wrist-worn velocity that appreciates as fiercely as it performs, beating Zenith with Panda at 70% the hype.